Why'd you guys cut Kingsley Keke, and what was the reason for him not being on the field these last couple weeks?
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into personnel stuff with you guys. I think Goody obviously, with Matt, they do a great job with all of our personnel and all of our personnel decisions, and we kind of take the approach. Who's ever here, we're gonna coach the hell out of, and obviously a decision was made. He's not here anymore, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
I got another one since I kind of figured that was going to be your answer. How have you seen the 49ers use Deebo differently than from the first time you guys played them specifically in the running game?
Yeah, I mean, completely different. Debo's always been a guy, just coming from that division. Debo's a dangerous guy with his ball and with the ball in his hands. Obviously, whether it's down the field and they're throwing it to him, screen game. He's always been a huge weapon. In their fly sweeps, when they've handed the ball to him, he's done a ton of damage over the years. And really this year, I want to say really since the Jacksonville game for them this year, they've had some injuries in the backfield, and they committed to actually putting him back there and legitimately he's a running back and running their normal run game. And he's done a phenomenal job. Deebo's a 220-pound receiver. People don't realize, how big and thick he is. He's got unbelievable balance, and he's an angry runner. He always has been, even down the field when they've thrown the ball to him. So they do a great job. Coach Shanahan got a ton of respect for him just in the way they scheme runs, really no matter who the running back is. But when you got a guy that's as dangerous as Deebo is, when the ball gets in his hands, they've created ways of doing things with him as a ball carrier, as a premier running back. So they've done a good job.
Pete Doherty.
Hey, Joe. What are the
Hi, Pete.
ways that you go about convincing your players, emphasizing to them the importance of holding the edge against the run, especially against this team?
Oh, I think it's obviously vital every week, and the different systems and the different run styles that you have to defend, offense to offense to offense every week. But I think this team does as great a job as anybody in the National Football League of really stressing you on the perimeter. And they do a great job with creating angle blocks, and quite frankly, the other thing they do a wonderful job with is every single person really other than the quarterback on their offense blocks. Their receivers do a phenomenal job of really taking pride in the way that they block and they stick their face in there and account for people, whether it's receivers blocking DBs or even cracking linebackers, or they'll ask them at times to come down and like you said, crack perimeter players, defensive ends, outside linebackers. But they do as great a job as really stressing you on the perimeter and using every inch of the field, sideline to sideline, and really force you to have to defend, all 53 yards of the field. They do as good a job as anybody in the league.
How do you know if you don't mind me following up, how do you tell if the message is getting through to those outside guys at just how vital it is?
Well, I mean that's what you meet for during the week. That's what you practice for during the week. Obviously film study is vital. And these guys being the Niners, they do a phenomenal job really with all aspects of the run game. But as I said, they do a great job of really stressing you on the perimeter, and forcing you to defend, every inch of the field.
Thanks.
Bill Huber.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Good, brother. What's up, Bill?
Not much. Are Jair and Za'Darius ready? As far as, have you gotten them as ready as possible on a practice field?
Yeah, I think the key thing is what you just said, on the practice field. It helped last week. We obviously had the bye last week, but we came in and got 3 really, really good days of work out on the grass Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I think obviously for us it was good, but I think for the individual player it was really good to be able to get out there. We were in pads one day last week, so they were actually able to, truly, get their pads on and kind of feel their pads. I think that was big. And then, we went out. We were in full pads today. Had a great spirited padded practice. So I think, but again, you can try to. I've told you guys before, like when talking about tackling, you can create things in practice. You can create drills, but until when the real stuff happens on game day, you're truly not going to know. But I think we've put them in as many different situations as possible to really feel if they can go. And I just I want them to stack blocks. And I think the 3 days last week, obviously yesterday and today, they've fully participated in practice. We had a great spirited individual period today and yesterday, which is big. Our coaches do a great job of really stressing our players with all the different techniques that they have to play in individual. So, I think today they stacked another block towards playing, no doubt about it.
Ryan Wood.
Joe, I know that there are differences, sometimes key differences between now and 2 years ago when the 2019 NFC Championship game happened. For one, you were in LA. But do you go back and watch film of that game, knowing that there are a lot of similarities still in place, their scheme, a lot of your personnel, to see what happened in that game and to prevent that from happening again?
Oh, sure. Kyle's been there since 2017. I was in that division in 2019. So it's yes. I think Kyle. The thing that I think Kyle and that offense does. Of course, they have staples. Every offense does. They have staples in their run game. They have staples in their pass game. But, these guys do as good of anybody of game planning week to week and not just giving you the same thing every single week. They do a phenomenal job, arguably one of the best in the league as far as we refer to that a lot of times as scheme runs. A lot of times when you go against an offense, again, specifically when you're talking about defending the run, if, okay, you're a 4-3 team or you're a 3-4 team, these are the runs you're going to get. The Niners have done a phenomenal job. Kyle and his staff, since he's been there since 2017, is they're gonna keep you guessing. They're gonna change it up, and you can't just say, okay, they're 2 years ago they did this against us, so they're gonna pull out that game plan and do the same thing. It might show up, it might not, and they do a great job of just really keeping you off guard and off base. They do a wonderful job with personnel. We already talked about Deebo. I think that's why they've, especially in running in the run game. If you guys go back, I specifically know it just from coming from that division. They've had a number of different backs over the last 5 years play, and a number of different guys have been successful running the ball, just like Deebo is now. They put a receiver back there. Now I think he's a pretty unique receiver in the sense that, as we already talked about, his balance and his size and just his how he runs with anger when he has the ball in his hands. But these guys, they do a great job of keeping you guessing and keeping you off base.
Mike Jones.
Hey, Joe. I know in addition to running angry, there's a lot of great athletes in the league, but what is it about Deebo that makes him so unique that they can move him around, that he can do so much, and how do you defend that?
Where you don't have Zoom, Mike? I don't see your face on here. They don't give you that? Oh, there you are. There you are, buddy. It's good to see your face. How we doing, man?
Good to see you, man.
All right. Sorry, I was thinking about talking smack back at you. I didn't even listen to your damn question.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of great athletes in the league, a lot of versatile ones, but what is it about Deebo, in addition, to running angry, like you said, but what is it that makes him so unique that they are able to use him the way they do? And then how do you account for somebody that they can move around any personnel package and use? I think with Deebo, I've always, over the years, I remember
years ago when I was coaching in Tampa, being in the division with Carolina. Carolina had a receiver, an all-pro receiver, Steve Smith, who was a great player. And we always talked about and joked that, God, Steve Smith would be an unbelievable running back because, we call it contact balance. And when a ball carrier gets hit, you can really see if they have contact balance or not based on how fast they go down when they get hit. And I think the biggest difference I think there's incredible similarities between Deebo and Steve Smith, and Deebo's actually bigger. As I mentioned, I think Deebo's somewhere between 215 and 220. So he has that size. He's able to mix it up inside the tackles, if you will. But then obviously he has the athleticism and the skill set to be able to bounce runs and stress you on the perimeter like we talked about. But I think the biggest thing that Deebo brings to the table is that contact balance, because to be a good running back, especially at this level, you have to be able to bounce off tackles and keep your balance, keep your feet underneath your armpits and be able to bounce off tackles and break tackles. And usually, wideouts have speed. Wideouts have great feet. They can run routes. But you can't just put anybody in the backfield. And, it's one thing to run a reverse or fly sweeps. I mean, they're running their run game. They're running their inside zone. They're running their outside zone that, Kyle has had so much success with through his career. To have a receiver go back there and be able to do that and have the success that he's had just goes to show you what type of athlete you're dealing with.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, brother. Good seeing you, Mike.
You too.
Jim Trotter.
Joe, how you doing, man?
Good, Jim. A bunch of my old guys, man. It's good to see you guys.
Thank you, man. I've got two questions for you. First one, I'm curious as someone, as you say, who was in the NFC West the past 4 years and having to defend Kyle in that offense twice a year.
Yeah.
What is it about him that, or how much does that help you in terms of preparing for this game, in terms of understanding sort of Kyle's mindset, if you will,
Sure.
seeing him so regularly?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't have until earlier in the year when we played him. Shoot, that was the first time that I had any success against Kyle. My last 2 years in LA, we had zero success against the Niners, and they still, I think, what are they? I think they're 6-0 against LA the last 3 years. But I think, again, my history goes back pretty far with Kyle. When early on in my career, when I was coaching in Tampa, we hired Kyle as an offensive quality control. So I've known him for a long time, and have a ton of respect for him and just what he's been able to accomplish and do as a play caller in this league, let alone a head coach. He does a great job for all the things that I already listed. I think he really does a phenomenal job of, again, and I'm to make you guys understand this as simple as I can. A lot of times, you can get a bead on an offensive play caller just by, okay, this is what he does, as I mentioned before. This is what he does against 3-4 teams. This is what he does against 3-4 teams. This is what he does against, teams that play a lot of man. This is what he does against teams that play a lot of zone. Really, really good offensive play callers like Kyle is, they don't give you that. They keep you guessing. And I don't want to say that every single game is a brand new game plan, but that's the way defending him, that's the way he makes it feel. And I think that's what makes him, so good and so special at what he does. He's going to keep you guessing, especially in the run game. And I think that's why they're one of the elite, probably, 1, 2, 3 teams in the league that really, really know how to run the ball. Because again, they're not going to give you anything as far as, okay, this is the run we have to defend. You don't know, so you got to defend it all. And then that's where it relies on us being disciplined, that we got to get the call, we got to get lined up, we got to whip a block, and we got to tackle.
I'm curious when you talk about him being scheme specific against an opponent. Does he try and attack, let's say, even in the run game, a specific individual, or might he try and attack an area of an opponent, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be obviously a great question for him, but I think most, I think most good offensive coordinators, good offensive play callers, Jim, I think they do a great job of, obviously they number one, try to attack a front, for example. They're going to block the front that they're presented, or they're going to attack a coverage that they're given. But of course, all great coordinators are going to attack, of course, what they do, during the week, especially early in the week on Monday and Tuesday, they're going to try to target the weakest link and then obviously try to attack that person, whether it be in the run game or in the pass game. So, of course, I would assume Kyle absolutely does that. I think most really good offensive coordinators and play callers do.
We have time. We have time for one more. Tom Silverstein.
Good seeing you, Jim.
Thank you, man.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
Good to see you, brother.
Yeah. Hey, you have used Devondre Campbell in, a huge amount of different ways in different places.
Yeah.
And how does that translate into facing a team like this that uses wide receivers all over the place, fullbacks all over the place? Does that give you some manner in which you can counter?
Yeah, I think it's first of all just to give, just to stick another feather in Dre's cap, because he's been a star for us this year. But I think first off, it was a lot on Dre this year, because we put a lot of hats on him, and have a bunch of different roles for him. And he's been able not only to handle it and do it, he's done it at a high level, obviously, with the recognition that he obviously got earlier in the week. But yeah, of course, we as coaches, and then obviously Dre individually, takes a lot of pride in the different things that we ask him to do, and we'll continue to have him wear a bunch of different hats for us.